Hi, David. How you doing? Thank you so much for kicking things off. You've got some really good ideas with your sketches here. I want to go through your work though and kind of make some general comments. And a lot of this is directed towards, it. First of all, kudos to you. Thank you very much for posting first. A lot of times that's not the easiest thing to do. And this is a perfect example because I'm going to go through your work and I'm going to describe some things that I consider to be missed opportunities, giving you a chance to go back through your work before you submit finally your final submission on Sunday, just to take a look at the project specs and make sure that you're adhering to those project specifications, as well as adhering to some basic principles and elements of design, along with some general basic elements of communication. Okay, so let's start with your first poster. Now, you say your first poster is about bootstrap capitalism, and I'm going to go ahead and say that I don't think that you've described your posters enough. Over here in the project specs, it says that complete your research and write about the purpose of each idea for your poster. And I think that right here, I would describe what bootstrap capitalism is. I'm bootstrapping refers to using your own money or your company revenues to reinvest and to invest the company, as opposed to using venture capital. I think that's what you're referring to. I'm not sure because it's not specifically clear in your writing. As such, bootstrap capitalism, you don't have any typography in your poster here, so that's going to be something that would be considered missing. You definitely want to use type in your poster. I see you've used type in your bottom posters, and that's great. At the very least, I would use bootstrap capitalism and just maybe even a brief description. Your sketches are fantastic. You can sketch. That's great. I love it. I love it because this is, to me, the most important part of concept development is sketching. A lot of students don't understand that, and we'll see that. We'll see that. So for you to be giving these really detailed sketches is fantastic. It's fantastic. Great job. Okay, so a tip I want to give you is that whenever you're submitting work for critique or presentation purposes, specifically critique, you always want to number your work. I know there's only 4 of these, and I know very easily I could say the first example, the second example, but just to get you used to industry standard practices, you would want to go ahead and number your examples. Okay, so this example I think is good. Now, one thing I don't understand here is this. I think it's fantastic that you're researching historic styles to use in your work. That's graphic design. That's good, smart design, good thinking. But right now, I want to go ahead and say I don't necessarily see a relationship between the Bauhaus style that you want to use and the subject matter of your poster. So keep that in mind. The second piece, I think, same as the first, is really nondescript in terms of just looking at it. So it's not telling us much other than showing feet and boots, feet and shoes and sandals and boots, representing bootstrap capitalism, I'm guessing. So I think that, without showing typography, without a further explanation here, I think that this could get lost in terms of its general meaning. So keep that in mind. Okay, again, no typography there, and you want to number that. The third and fourth pieces I think are really good. I think this is your strongest piece right here, Expedition Everest. I think it looks like, now one of two things is happening now. It looks like you're bleeding in both of these copies, you're bleeding your type off the page. And I'm not necessarily sure that's a great idea, especially over here. You just can't read it. Half your word is missing. So I'm guessing that when you started sketching, you just didn't really fit the words in the sketch. So I'm saying that because I can see this boundary around here, and we can see that we just kind of don't fit. So it's not a cropping issue. This one looks like it could be a cropping issue though, so because we don't see that border that we see on your other posters have these borders around them. This one doesn't, so I'm guessing that one's cropped too closely, which is cutting out part of your text. Okay, this says the poster is something I wanted to put together for a while. I like the phrase "victory is contagious," paired with a style like it could be a cool Art Deco style. And I agree with all that, but maybe just a little bit more of a detailed description of what your objective and your intended outcome is for the poster. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to communicate? Why the wings? Why the placement of the type? Why the sword? Why the layout? And that would be something that would be really beneficial to your art director in the future, working at a studio, or even for your clients. And as an art director right now, if I were going over this presentation, I would have to call the designer into my office and say, okay, can you describe a couple of things? Because there's a couple of things that aren't exactly obvious. Okay, and then, as I said before, I think this is your strongest piece. I really do. I think it's your strongest, and it's gonna probably be the most fun to do. But that's not to say that you can't develop any of these any way you want. Now, listen. Now, what you do now, you've submitted this for a critique. I've given you my critique. You're going to get other critiques between now and Sunday. So at that point, it's up to you to decide, what you want to do. I know you've got 4. That's fantastic that you have 4. So really, you can take my comments and take the comments of your peers and use those moving forward. But those would be my general comments. And again, thank you very much for posting first. I think it's fantastic that that's when students take the incentive to post first. Kudos for that. It's not always the easiest thing to do. All right, so that would be my recommendations. Now, if you have any questions, comments, or other, please feel free to let me know. And I'll be glad to clarify. Other than that, I will see your work Sunday. All right, any questions, give me a holler. Great job. Thanks, David.